You've likely heard the popular claim that the Great Wall of China is visible from space. NASA scientists have long confirmed that's a complete myth. But what is absolutely real is the dark legacy left behind by this massive 21,000-kilometer network of fortifications. It holds the grim title of the world's longest graveyard. To understand why it was built, we have to go back 2,700 years to the Warring States period. Emperor Qin Shi Huang had just unified a fractured China through sheer military force, but taking the throne left him utterly paranoid. He was terrified of the Xiongnu nomads sweeping down from the northern steppes, and equally terrified of the newly conquered citizens living right inside his borders. He ordered the construction of a massive physical barrier, but the original sections weren't made of the heavy granite we picture today. Workers relied on rammed earth technology, violently pounding wet mud, gravel, and straw into wooden frames until it dried into a hard crust. They did this by hand, in the freezing, brutal extremes of the Gobi Desert. The human cost was staggering. The emperor deployed an army of 300,000 soldiers to oversee the labor, and then forced hundreds of thousands of peasants and political prisoners into the project. Historians estimate that up to 1 million people died from starvation, disease, and exposure. When workers collapsed under the strain, their bodies were often tossed directly into the wall's foundations. The misery was so profound that it embedded itself deep into Chinese folklore. The most enduring legend is of a young woman named Meng Jiangnu. Days after her wedding, her husband was conscripted to build the wall and never returned. The story says she walked hundreds of miles to find him, only to learn he had died of exhaustion. She wept so bitterly that the earth cracked and a massive section of the wall collapsed to reveal his bones. While archaeologists haven't found skeletons trapped inside the modern brickwork, historians like Arthur Waldron point to a strategic reason for this brutality. By pinning millions of citizens to an impossible, labor-intensive project far from the capital, the emperor ensured they were too exhausted and isolated to ever organize an internal rebellion. The wall was a containment system for the people inside it. When the Han Dynasty took power around 206 BC, the wall transitioned into a tool for economic regulation. They extended the fortifications deep into the west to wrap around the Silk Road. By channeling merchants through heavily guarded checkpoints like the Jade Gate, Han emperors turned a military barricade into a highly lucrative revenue machine. This map outlines how Han Dynasty spaced beacon towers, building an ancient, high-speed communication network. Instead of physical messengers, soldiers transmitted intelligence faster than horses. A single plume of smoke meant a small raiding party. 3 simultaneous plumes alerted the capital of a full-scale invasion. It was a brilliant system until the 13th century. When Genghis Khan and his united Mongol tribes arrived, they completely bypassed the sophisticated warning network. The Mongols didn't waste time launching complex siege warfare against stone towers. Khan simply scouted for understaffed sections of the border, approached the severely underpaid guards, and offered them bribes to look the other way. The Mongols moved past the wall without ever having to tear it down. The invasion revealed that no physical fortification can protect an empire if the guards are willing to trade their loyalty for a payout. The Chinese eventually drove the Mongols out and established the Ming Dynasty in 1368. Terrified of another Mongol invasion, the new Ming emperors entirely abandoned the old mud barricades and launched the most expensive, mathematically complex construction project in Chinese history. They upgraded the architecture to the towering, imposing image we recognize today. They utilized millions of kiln-fired bricks and heavy granite blocks, fortifying the line with over 1,200 multi-story watchtowers equipped with archery windows and massive gunpowder storage. This molecular diagram reveals the chemistry that made these sections impregnable. Engineers mixed slaked lime with amylopectin from sticky rice. Drawing into an organic superglue, it became so water-resistant that even 500 years later, tree roots cannot penetrate the seams. The Ming Emperor succeeded in solving the engineering problem, but they were repeating an old mistake. They operated as if a better wall would solve the underlying security problem, while again ignoring the human element that had doomed their predecessors. Jump forward to the year 1644. The physical wall was operating at peak architectural perfection, But inside the empire, society was collapsing. Peasant rebels, furious over heavy taxes and corruption, had violently captured the capital of Beijing. At the exact same time, a massive Manchu army was threatening to invade from the north. But they were dead stopped at the Shenhaiguan Pass. This was the most heavily fortified choke point on the entire border, where the Great Stone Fortress plunges directly into the sea. There was absolutely no physical way for the invaders to go around it. The pass was commanded by a Ming general named Wu Sungui. Trapped between the peasant rebels who had just executed his father in Beijing and the enemy Manchu army at his front, he made a choice. To exact personal revenge on the rebels, General Wu simply walked down to the checkpoint and unlocked the massive iron doors. The invaders walked right through, crushed the rebellion, and seized control of China. After failing as a defensive structure for centuries, the wall was given a new purpose in the 20th century. Mao Zedong famously declared, "He who has not climbed the Great Wall is not a true man." He launched a massive campaign to rebrand the ruins from a symbol of imperial failure and forced labor into a monument of national pride. Today, the Great Wall stands as a 21,000-kilometer mirror. It is proof that no matter how advanced the technology or how thick the stone, a society cannot build a wall high enough to protect it from a decay that begins within its own borders.